Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video on my channel, Meg's Movies. If you are new to this channel, this is basically where I talk to you guys about my passion for movies. This goes from collections, hauls, reviews, and to today's video, so let's get into it. Okay, so we're into the final 3 years of the 90s now, and we are in 97. So with this one, it was a little bit more easier. There is quite a few films that come out this year that I really enjoyed. But there was two I don't own physically, and funnily enough, they are the last two. So at least I can get them sorted early. But if you haven't seen the rest of this series, do go and check it out. I am going to make a playlist in the bottom with all of them in. And then I am going to do the 2000s because everyone keeps asking for it. So keep an eye out for that at some point in the future. But yeah, so 97, to be honest, there's like two some of these are kid films, some of these are serious films, some of these are comedies. My number one, if you're someone that's been subscribed to my channel for a while, you probably know what my number one will be, especially if you've looked up to see what came out in 97. But yeah, so there's one Jim Carrey film in this list as well, of course. But yeah, I think it's mainly first films. I think there's only like one sequel in this list. So yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into my top 10 movies of 97. Okay, so at number 10, we have Con Air. Now, I only watched this the once so far, and hence why it's at the bottom of my list, because with certain movies, if I've only watched it the once, if it didn't have a massive impact on me, it will make it to the bottom of the list until I've rewatched it again. I forgot to state as well, there is a lot of films that I have not seen that have come out this year that a lot of people might have put in their list, so just bear with. So my list might change in the future, who knows. But with Con Air, I had the Jerry Bruckheimer collection on DVD, but then I ended up getting rid of it. And that was one of the films I actually did watch out of that list. And you know what, I'm quite surprised at how much I enjoyed that film. It's got Nick Cage in it. There's quite a lot of big celebrities in it. And it's a different kind of film to what I'd normally watch. Because if you know me, you know that I'm more of the comedy, the action, as in like superhero stuff. So when it comes to one about shipping prisoners off in a plane, yeah, I never really thought I'd watch something like that. And I'm quite surprised at how much I did enjoy it, because with Nick Cage, I can either like his films or dislike his films. I'm very 50-50 on him. He's not my absolute favourite actor, but I'd say he'd probably make my top 10, maybe top 15. But the films that I do enjoy of his, I end up really enjoying. And in fact, there is one more movie of his in this list that's near the top. So, yeah. But Con Air is a different film to what I'd normally watch. But it's nice because you do have to try and expand your movie genres a little bit. So, like I said, I think this was back when I started watching Bad Boys and Lethal Weapon, and I started watching more cop-related stuff. So that's probably why I went, you know what, I'll watch Con Air. Plus, also, I'd heard nothing but good things about Con Air. So, yeah, so that's why it's at number 10. I do need to give it another watch because I have seen it somewhere free. So I might give it another watch. So who knows, maybe in the future it could go up higher or it could go lower. Who knows? But Con Air is one I'd recommend if you want a Nick Cage film that's... What's the best way of putting it? If you want a more serious Nick Cage movie. There we go. That's the best way to explain it, I think. I'm not very good at explaining things. I do apologise. At number 9, we have Flubber. Yes! I had to include this Robin Williams classic. The reason why it is quite far down, though, is because, if I'm going to be completely honest, it is one of my favourite childhood films, but at the same time, it's one I haven't watched in a few years. In fact, it's probably been like 3-4 years now since I've last watched that film. But I do remember a lot of it, and so it's one of my favourite Robin Williams films. In fact, I think it'd probably make my top 5 of his films. And It's one that I have a lot of memories attached to because I remember owning it on VHS. I remember watching Weebo, the little yellow robot. I thought she was so adorable. Flubber, the way it was all like bouncing around and elasticy, and yeah, just Flubber is unique. It's different, but it's fun. It's enjoyable, and it brings back nostalgia for me as and when I do watch it, because I don't know, it's just when you watch a childhood film, especially if it's one you haven't watched in years, it does bring back those memories of you watching it. And in fact, now when I'm thinking of Flubber, I can remember certain scenes. I mean, the bits where he puts the flubber on his shoes and he ends up bouncing so high, and the bowling ball. And there's some certain scenes that are a bit weird, but you get over that because it's funny. So yeah, Flubber is one of Robin Williams' best films, but at the same time, I don't think as well known as some of the others, not like Aladdin or Jumanji, but it is close up there, at least for me anyway. But yeah, number 9, we have Flubber. So now the rest I actually own physically. So at number 8, another childhood classic, George of the Jungle. Brendan Fraser. In fact, I think this might have been my first Brendan Fraser film before The Mummy. And I remember just enjoying this so much growing up. I used to watch this on repeat quite a bit. I remember putting the VHS in and rewinding it and then watching it. But I've got a lot of memories attached to this. And in fact, you know what, thinking about it, I think I may have had a crush on Brendan Fraser in this. Because for some reason, I just remember staring at that man. Yeah. But it's not just Brendan. You've also got, I can't remember her name now. Where's her name? Oh my god, I'm having a brain. Leslie Mann. She does an amazing job in this film. We've also got Thomas Hayden Church. He was hilarious in this film. But also John Cleese as Ape. Hilarious. I remember his character more than the elephant's character. I know the elephant's character was quite adorable. Shep. I remember the name now. Shep. But Ape, just some of the lines he comes out with and the way he deals with George's stuff is hilarious. Especially when he's trying to give him women advice. It's quite funny because he's giving him ape women advice. So he's sort of like being like, this is what apes do. But obviously George thinks he's an ape. I know this is kind of like a bit of like a parody, I believe, of like Tarzan in a sense. But it is one I grew up with. And if you want a Brendan Fraser film that you feel like you might have not seen, this is probably one of them. Because this was certainly different. Because especially when I watched The Mummy after this and then looked back at this and went, how do you go from such a silly role to such a serious one? Like, I love when an actor can do that. But no, George of the Jungle, absolute childhood classic and a lot of memories attached to it. Okay, at number 7, we have a Disney animated classic, and that is Hercules. I do quite enjoy this film, not just for the plot. I love the characters. I mean, Pain and Panic, favourite side villains, I think. Well, after the hyenas. Yeah, the hyenas and then Pain and Panic. I think they're absolutely hilarious. Hades as a villain, one of my favourites. James Woods does an absolutely amazing job as Hades. He's just so sarcastic, so funny, and one of the more fun villains to watch. Then you've got Hercules himself. Cute, adorable character. I love him. I love his development. Then you've also got Danny DeVito as Phil. Sorry, I have to look at names sometimes. As Phil, absolutely amazing voice work for him. This is why, if they do a Hercules live action, definitely bring back Danny DeVito and James Woods, because I cannot imagine anyone else taking on those roles. I really can't, because just their voices alone, you just remember them. When you think Hercules, you do think of them too. I think Megara, she's a fun and sassy princess. I like the fact she was not that whole princessy. She was more like sort of like the sass, you know. She had the sarcasm, she had the attitude, you know. She had the song I Won't Say I'm in Love. Love that song. Go the Distance, absolutely amazing song. Zero to Hero. There are so many good songs in this film. So this is one of Disney's best films, I think. This would probably make my top 10. Maybe even top 5, to be honest. Because when I do return to this, every single time, I have non-stop enjoyment. I never get bored of this. I laugh every single time. I sing along to the words. So Hercules is definitely one of the best Disney films we've had. This is what I mean. 90s Disney was just amazing, I think. Okay, so at number 6, this is another animated film. In fact, the last animated film on this list. And I think this film might have made some people's list. And that is Anastasia. This is a very dark animated film, not going to lie, because it's based on the legend of Anastasia. So the animation can get dark and creepy, especially when it comes to, how do you say his name? I can't remember his name. Rasputin. I should remember that. Especially when it comes to him. Christopher Lloyd voice acted Rasputin. Hilarious, like the way he comes out with stuff. So when it comes to his side of things, it is very creepily animated, which I do like. But when it comes to Anastasia and her partner Dimitri, the animation's beautiful and flowing and nice. Once Upon a December, absolutely lovely song. You Can Learn to Do It, that's another one. I had to think of the song title then. Rasputin's Evil Song. One of my favourite villain songs. I like listening to it when I can. But no, Anastasia, if you want a dark animated film, but not too dark, this is one I'd recommend. I mean, obviously one of the darkest animated films is Watership Down. But this, I would say probably come like a second or third, but I haven't seen a lot of animated films, so it might be there's something else worse out there. But if you want something that's not Disney, this is one I recommend. Okay, and we're now into the top 5 of 97. And at number 5, we have Face Off, starring Nick Cage and John Travolta. Oh my god. I remember watching this for the first time. I think this was about 5 years ago. Couldn't believe how well this was acted. This is a film, if you don't know what the plot of this film is, you've got Nick Cage, who is this criminal, and then you've got John Travolta, who's this cop who's been after him for years. They finally catch him. However, they want to close the investigation completely and go undercover. So then what ends up happening, and this is the weirdest part, John Travolta then takes Nick Cage's face and swaps. So he then pretends to be Nick Cage. And then Nick Cage wakes up and takes his face. So they end up swapping lives. This is absolutely weird, funny, creepy, entertaining, like all sorts. Every time I watch this film, I cannot get over how well that these two switched roles and had to act like the other character. Honest to God, I love this pairing. We need more films with these two in, I think. But Face Off, this is definitely, to be honest, if I'm going to be completely honest thinking about it, I think this is my favourite Nick Cage film of all time. There's some of his films I have not seen, but this one would make the top. And in fact, I think maybe this for John Travolta as well. I love Grease, I love his role in Grease, but this just, honest to God, if you want something that's a little bit out there, this is one I'd recommend. Honest, if you have not watched this, do give this a watch. Okay, my number 4 will surprise some people because it is from my favourite horror franchise, but it's not any higher. But there's a reason for that, because the other 3 films, I have a lot more attached to it. But at my number 4, it had to be in my top 5 at least, is Scream 2. One of the best sequels we have ever gotten, I think. I honestly like returning to this film. I can't get over some of the scenes we get, especially some of the characters they kill off. Honest to God, this is a sequel that, to be honest, depending on how my mood is, can be switched to my number 1 between the first one and this one. Like, it can switch up between them two. Because both of these, I would happily give a 10 out of 10. Because I enjoy the sequel. I think it's an amazing sequel. In fact, I enjoy all the Scream sequels. Some a little bit less than others, but this is definitely one of the best ones, I think. It's, honest to God, just such a good film. And if you want a good sequel film, this is one I recommend. I might even try and do a top 10 best sequels list, maybe. Sorry, I've got pins and needles in my foot. But no, Scream 2, absolutely amazing sequel, and of course, had to be in my top 4. Now, at my number 3, beating out Scream 2, just a little bit, is Men in Black. The reason being is because I have a lot more memories attached to this one. I remember watching this one a hell of a lot more growing up. I love Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. I think they're absolutely fun people to see working together. These are some of like my best duos, I think, when it comes to the celebrities. The effects in this are really good, even for the cockroach thing, if you want to call him that. He looks amazing, even though it's CGI, it looks really good, especially for the year it came out. But there's some fun creatures in this. There are some fun actors in this. I mean, he creeps me out no end. Every time I watch it, it creeps me out. And there's a certain scene near the end of the film, I think you all know what it is. Creeps me out so much every time I watch it. Pug always makes me laugh. Frank, that's his name. Frank always makes me laugh. But the dynamic of these two are just absolutely amazing. He makes me laugh every time he's in the second sequel. But I had to put this above Scream 2 because I just love this film. I love returning to it. I love having a good laugh with this film. So Men in Black just beats Scream 2 just that little bit. Okay, we're down to the final 2. So at number 2, sorry, this video's gone on a little bit longer than normal. At number 2 is my Jim Carrey film of the year, and that is Liar, Liar. I remember the first time I watched this film, I thought, what the hell am I watching? So this film, if you haven't seen this film, basically his son wishes for him not to lie for 24 hours. So he cannot lie for 24 hours. But the best part is that he is a lawyer. Yes. So it makes it even more fun. And he's got like this big court case coming up, and he's having to deal with the fact that he cannot lie. The way he pretends that he cannot lie is absolutely hilarious. It is just funny from start to finish. Especially there's a certain scene in a toilet where he's beating himself up. That's just so weird. And the fact he's like, I'm kicking my ass. Do you mind? Like, there's so many one-liners from this film. So many good actors in this film. I mean, the pen is blue. The pen is blue. Honestly, absolutely funny film. Even my mum enjoys this film, and my mum's not a massive fan of Jim Carrey, so for her to enjoy this film is saying something. So if you want a Jim Carrey film that you feel like isn't going to be too over the top, this is one I recommend. And the bloopers. Watch the end, because you'll get the bloopers at the end. Hilarious, fun, entertaining. One of my favourite bloopers, I think, to be honest, when it comes to movies. But Liar Liar is at my number 2. At my number 1, this will never change, hands down, and I think you all know what it's going to be. Titanic. Oh my god, I've explained this before in videos, but I'll explain it again here for all my new subscribers. I grew up with Titanic, and for me, I have a special memory towards it because I used to watch this on repeat over my nan's when my mum was pregnant with my sister. So apparently I used to watch this on repeat quite a lot over there, and then my granddad ended up giving me the VHS that they owned. And ever since then, I try and watch this as much as I can. It is a 3-hour long film, so it is one of those films where it's like, if I have a day off, I'll watch it. Or if I'm in the mood for it, I'll watch it. But this is one of my favourite romantic films of all time. Doomed romance, I will say though. Kind of like Romeo and Juliet in a sense. But it is so good. This was one of the films that got me falling in love with films. From the cinematography, to the acting, to the soundtrack, to the bit at the end, how tense that ending is. That last half of the film, absolutely terrifying to watch. I cry every time I watch it, especially at the end. Even though I know the ending is coming, every single time I cry, no matter what. I absolutely love this film. Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, just, oh, so good. And it's just such an amazing film. If you want to see cinema at its best, especially cinematography, seriously, watch this. James Cameron, this is one of his best films. I have not watched Avatar, like I said in previous videos, but I don't think anything will top Titanic when it comes to James Cameron for me. Absolutely such an amazing film. If you have not watched it, recommend you do. You might struggle if you're someone that doesn't like watching a film for 3 hours, but I say just bear with it. Just get through it. I know you'll enjoy it. But yeah, so that is my top 10 movies of 97. Sorry this video's gone on a little bit longer than planned. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell down below to be notified when I post. And leave me your comments and thoughts on this top 10 list. What would be your top 10 list? Like I said, there's a lot of films that come out that year that I haven't seen. Good Will Hunting was one of them. Have not seen that yet, but I will watch it. So your list will probably be different from mine. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!